Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire Ho. You can also call me the promo guy. My guest today, Leslie Hausler from Your Biz Rules. She is an expert in transformation small business into thriving, freedom-generating ventures. Leslie is the founder of Your Biz Rules and a business strategist with 17 years of entrepreneur experience. She's the author of First This, Then That, and the upcoming book Scaling Rich. Leslie's holistic approach helps businesses achieve a predictable profits and sustainable growth, all maintaining a balanced quality of life. We are all excited to dive into insight and creating business success and financial freedom. Welcome to the show, Leslie.
Howdy, Swire. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, we have such a good conversation going on before the show.
I know.
And I would love to find out more about your particular journey. You know, what got you into the entrepreneurship journey, and what do you like most about helping others to succeed?
What got us into the entrepreneur journey? I will tell you that on a Wednesday, I found out that by Friday I wasn't going to have a job. And it had nothing to do with the fact that I didn't do a good job. I did an awesome job. It's just I worked for other small businesses who couldn't afford to keep paying me. And so I called that accidental entrepreneur. I didn't have a plan for it. It wasn't like I prepared. I wrote a business plan, filed incorporation, and launched the next Monday. So I will say there was a desire for a few things. One, I wanted my own freedom to control my destiny. I was a little tired of being at the whim of other people's choices. The other part is I felt called to do what I like to do best, which is to serve people. And like you said, that's been 17 years later. It's been a wild ride at the end of the day. So that's a little bit of how we started to get onto entrepreneurship. And then your second question was, what do we like to do, right?
Mm-hmm. What do you like most about helping others?
So if you go way back down to our vision statement, it's about building better businesses for tomorrow. And the reason that we're so passionate about that is that we find that for small businesses, the goal started off simple: put food on the table, put a roof over your head, put gas in the car, right? As though you grow and as you really take things to the next level in your business and become a business owner, it's about taking care of the people. It's about having impact. It's about, doing really great work. Our business owners are great at what they do. We just help them be better at business. And if we can help them be better at business, then they stay in business longer, they make more money, they can pay their team. Like it's a very pay it forward experience for us. We live for the results and the impact to their lives.
Thank you for sharing. And I know that you provide a lot of good talking point, for this episode. And one thing that really catch my attention is, most business, you have an expertise, right? Or you're good at baking, or you at fixing a certain problem. You are a great speaker, right? So we go into business, we're trying to find more revenue, but a lot of time we don't focus on our profit. So we might be hitting a big order. We might be, going very busy, so to speak, a lot, but we don't have any profit. And you mentioned that there's a 6 hidden profit area in business. Can you please touch on each 6 of those, and why are they important to us?
Sure. I want to kind of touch on the concept you just shared, like we're not focusing on profit. And I think the reason that we're not focusing on profit is because we treat profit as a reward, not an intention, right? We think if we're going to be big enough, good enough, earn enough money, then like a profit fairy is going to come down and go, you've done it, Swire. You are profitable now. And it just doesn't happen that way. I don't know why we get that concept, but we just tie it to reward. So profit is an intention. And when you look at your business, the first 2 of the 6 areas are super easy. Everybody knows this. It's either your price or your cost. Now, what we find is that, yeah, sure, there are some businesses that, what I say, nickel and dime themselves to death or just have too much cost. But a lot of times we actually find businesses who are so focused on being lean, they're almost too lean. Like there's not enough energy in the business to actually produce a profit. So they're over lean. So in that way, people are on one side of the spectrum or the other. Very rarely are they in this healthy, balanced place when it comes to expenses, because if you're going to make money, you're going to spend money. And so the goal with profitability is just to control the flow and allow it to grow in your business so that there's more than enough left over. You feel safe and secure. So that's the first one. Price is the second one. Oh my gosh, you would not believe how hard this is. Like, this is the craziest part of the profit pyramid, which are the 6 areas, is price. So have you found, I know you've been in business for a while, but have you ever had to raise your prices as part of that?
Always, I hope none of my clients are listening. Always trying to find a way to do that.
It's good business,
Yeah.
right? And it's the thing that we have so much mindset trash around pricing that I often say that pricing is in between your 2 ears. Your version of pricing is completely about how you feel that your prices are serviced. So price is a tool. If you go into Starbucks, you're subject to profit maximization. You know, one Starbucks, if you've been in one Starbucks and you paid $3.50 for your coffee, and you go to another one and you paid $4.25 for the same coffee, that's profit maximization in play. But do you complain about it? Do you slam down the coffee and say, that's it, I'm not taking this coffee because I'm paying more for it, right? You don't. So we tend to put too much, I'd say, we tend to imagine price as the monster under the bed that's going to get us at night, right? When really it's a tool. It's truly a tool. Some of the other ones, scope creep. So trying to do more for the same money. Time slippage, right? Especially if you're a service-based business, if for whatever reason, a project that should take 6 weeks takes 12 weeks, you're going to erode all the profit in your business, right, in that project because of things like that. Those are some really easy ones, but then you're looking at capacity and inefficiency. So we start to get into productivity. I will tell you, this is my little secret, and I shouldn't be telling you, not at all. The way, honestly, like, if I'm going to double a business and find a whole lot of profit, I play with capacity, because for a lot of people, we feel busy, but we're not productive. And most teams are probably only operating at a 60% capacity when they could be operating at an 80%. That 20% gap, that's pure profit, because you're paying for your resource. You're just not maximizing it, right? So those are basically our 6 key areas that we look at with profitability. But every business has a little one, a sneaky one in there that is like the key, the golden key to the castle, and it's our job to find it for them.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Obviously, in each of the point, there's an episode we can unpack, right? With the point. And I feel like as a small business professional, right? Sometimes we do land the well or get to work with a big company, right? That
Mhm.
could make our year, so to
Yeah.
speak. But I, from experience, all of those are not profitable. I don't know if any listener feel the same way. Like each of the well or the big contracts that you have, obviously you have to comply with that term. You probably need a lawyer or consultant just to read the 100 pages of documents or
Yeah.
contracts.
Yeah.
Or you're buying to put them on your insurance policy, which
Yeah.
costs additional money. You might need to get more trucks, get more personnel. At the end, you're actually in the negative. And why? How can we do that? So let's see. What are your thoughts when small businesses get contacted by a counterpart which is much larger than they are? So do you have advice for them to make sure that we're still staying profitable with our product or services?
Yeah, there's a lot in there, isn't it? And then this is kind of one of those concepts, especially in First This, than that we're talking about. So I'm just going to give you another little quote. So, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king or queen, depending on who you are. So let's talk about that, because look, those whales, they represent revenue. And so we can get really super excited about revenue, like you were explaining. But really, we have to have that intention towards profitability. Can we profitably do this? And if you don't know what your profitability target is, if you don't know how this impacts your business. Like you said, there's all these secret costs that can kind of come into the play. It can be the contracts, the insurance, the having to hire additional people, and then computers, blah, blah, blah. It just balloons before you know it, and you're kind of out of control. But I think the other part of this is to really note cash flow, because a job can be profitable, but negatively impact cash flow. And when you're dealing with really bigger clients, your cash flow is going to get slowed down. So if you're used to getting paid within 30 days of your service, a lot of, let's just say, corporate or governmental clients, they're going to take 3, 6, 9 months to pay.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is, if that's your business model, great and groovy, your cash flow has to be managed in a way that allows for it. But most business owners have on hand in their bank account anywhere between 9 and maybe 21 days, if they're really good, of cash on hand. You can't wait 9 months. It will put you out of business. You can't afford to front the money on that. And when you do those things, you're acting as a bank. Now, is it a bad idea to do it? Heck no. It can be extremely lucrative. It can be extremely profitable. It can be all the right moves. However, we find that most businesses don't have the financial controls or systems in place that allows them to fully take advantage of it. And honestly, from the big guys' point of view, this is why they're so leery of working with small businesses. They want to, they're passionate about it. They want to be part of the ecosystem, but because they know you're not ready, that's why they don't offer. And so that's the flip side of it, is you have to show that you're ready. And that readiness has a lot of different factors. There's a lot of different options you can put into play. But I really think we just get so enamored with the big dollar sign at the front, that revenue, that we fail to fully think through and be strategic about how you're going to use this in your business.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think, that really sums it up. So, hope that listener will listen to this. Like, you will get the whales, but if at the end the math don't add up, you don't have to take, like, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Big, there's such a big name, once we do that, then on our testimonial, we have that client, then we'll be set. Like, if you could afford it, like, if you could, fund it, right? Or, like Leslie was saying, if you could act as a mini bank, or maybe other clients are profitable at some point, you get able to take on something that maybe sit on your receivable for 9 months. Are you able to make your payroll, rent, or other things that are going on in your business? If you answer yes, by all means, take it. Or if you only have one client that only pay you in 9 months, please don't.
Or be prepared. I loved what you said. If the math doesn't work, and we say that a lot, if the math doesn't work, the business won't work. So you don't need to be a calculus professor to do this. You need 3rd grade math. And help us, we have a nice fun tool, right? You are no longer in math class. You can use a calculator. I'm giving you permission, right? Like, it's 3rd grade math. It's addition, subtraction, maybe some multiplication and division. But if the math doesn't work, nothing about it will pay off. You cannot, and like, there's a phrase, I'll gladly pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today. That math doesn't work in my world, or it may not work in your world. So just think about that. I like that you shared that, Swire, because that's a great segment.
I think the challenging thing for a small business professional a lot of time is because of maybe the size that we are, or maybe the revenue that we're in, the tools that are available to us are not as broad as a mega company. So we know that at a certain point, bank can give us a line of credit, or bank will knock on our door and give us money, or with all the financing tools that are available, a lot of times we don't. And if you have asked a banker for money when you need money before, then you know what the conversation will like. So I wanted to dive deeper. We talked about profit in the beginning. So how do we help ourselves to be creating more predictable and reliable profits? Because I believe that if we have a solid base, let's say 50% of our business are repeat business, so that it will probably give us enough profit to go for a new market or new development, or land one of those well. So I think this will be an easier switch, right, to get bigger, is to have predictable profit. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, because you're right with the predictable profits. Here's what we have found is when we get this right, our clients are able to self-fund their growth. And listen, there are funding with other people's money is the nicer way to not the nice way, the everyday way to say it, other people's money is a strategy to be able to use. Not every business is ready to use it. If you're using funding to save your business, chances are it's going to be extremely difficult to get funding because bankers, funders, investors need to see proof that they can get their money back. So if your business isn't making money, isn't holding money, isn't retaining funds, then you're a bad deal. There's no way to work around that. It's the math of the deal. So we have to have profits. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes I see here, especially, is that for most business owners, at the end of the year, you're trying to break even. And we try to break even because we don't want to pay taxes, right? You're laughing because you know that's true. Here's the truth of it. Taxes are a privilege of profit. The last thing you need is profit on paper, which gives you a tax liability, but no cash in the bank to pay that tax. So now you have all year that your every little spare dollar is going to get paid to taxes because there was profit on paper, but not cash flow. Right? These are the sticky things that we don't always share with each other that we're going through. What we have found is if we make profit intention, we're intending to have money left over at the end of the year, which means we know we're going to create a tax liability. And I say that because our firm makes people money. So we create tax liability. Other partners, financial advisors, CPAs, your tax professional, they help reduce your tax ethically and legally. They're there to do that. We're here to make it. But at the same time, we put together purpose to our profits. And so we do things like profit plans where a little bit every week goes to taxes or every month goes to taxes. So we're paying for the taxes along the way, which means our goal is our clients do come into us and they usually have some tax liability that they're still paying on because the cash flow of the business is a little upside down. Within a year, we want you to be paying for this year's taxes with this year's money so that next year it's about the same thing. We're keeping all the money happening within the same year. What that does give us the ability to do is build reserves, which is your safety umbrella, right? This is how you're going to fund your next move, but also with reserves, you look more attractive to funding options. So we can go ask people for their other money to be able to use and grow in our business and start making really good business decisions. But there's just so much power and freedom when a business owner knows that they're covered. If they're going to take a risk, like we do this all the time, we ask ourselves, what's the return on investment? That's pretty standard marketing. What are we going to get back? What's likely? And then we ask ourselves, can we afford to lose it all? Can we afford to lose it all? And if we can afford to lose it all, we'll go for it. We'll risk it. We'll try because usually the upside is so great. But, I'll be honest, even in our business, we don't hit it out of the park with every single marketing strategy every single time, right? It typically takes 3 or 4 of learning and refining and getting better before we hit gold, if you will. So I think there's a lot to think about when you think about your money. And if you're looking at funding, if you're looking at scaling, if you're even just saying, how am I going to afford to be in business for the next 10 years, pay myself, have some retirement, and go on a vacation, a couple times a year, then you really have got to change the way you manage your money. And I promise you, the normal advice out there doesn't work anymore. You have to be willing to do something different in order to get a different result.
Thank you for sharing, Leslie. That's, again, really a lot to think about. And I wonder why people get into the entrepreneur journey, right? There's so much going on
There's
that
so much going
you have
on.
to know. It's crazy.
You can't do it alone, right? We were just talking about this, is that, I think entrepreneurship, we're so independent. We're going to do it. I mean, I even did it. I wanted control over my destiny. That's why I came into this. And what I have found is I wasn't put on an earth with how many billion of people to be doing all of it alone. There's absolutely nobody that's going to give me a gold star for doing it all by myself. It is so
Yeah.
much more fun when we have friends, when you have mentors, when you can go, I know this is a really silly question, but what is X? And you're like, oh, yeah, let me tell you what X is, right? That's what we need each other for. And I think that's why podcasts like your show are so important, because it opens up the conversation and we need more of it.
And I think one of the I want to say key to success is, you don't have to be the best in everything, like in your
Mhm.
journey in your business. Even you just have to know who to ask for help. And sometimes if help costs money, if you can afford it, find the best help that your money can get paid for, because
Yeah.
you don't want to do your own taxes, you don't want it to
Mhm.
develop a marketing strategy if you are a baker, by trade. So
Yeah.
but at a fair trade or at some cost, and sometimes with good advice that we have access to, you can actually talk to the best people in the world. They will share experience that could save you 5 years, 10 years. How
Yeah.
much would you willing to pay, or to maybe, like the term the coaches call it, to share a profit, if you could be saving 10 years of your time?
Yeah, and that's the time value of money, right? I mean, all of us, the most limited resource is time. You can always make more money. I think that's what business ownership has taught me. I can always make more money. I just can't get back time. And so, what's more important to me, that I take 10 years to figure it out and do it that way, or that I can get to my goals faster? But you kind of mentioned that. I think there's, when we, a couple of questions ago, when you were talking about enterprise level tools and things feeling out of reach for small business owners, I I feel like there are so many more tools and so many more points of access for small business owners, that if we could change that inner dialogue that says it's too expensive, and really start to see that it's too expensive to stay where you are, is actually costing you more than if you just invested to get over the hump that you're in, I think we would see a lot more businesses growing, and definitely more profitably.
Yeah, I think, versus 20 years ago when I started my business, now, if you wanted to learn something, you could actually find, I don't care what you want to learn.
Yeah.
There are going to be people who are already writing blogs or
Yeah.
doing YouTube video. I joke to my kids, I have a PhD in YouTube University. You could look up anything, right? I could
Yeah.
learn, you know, anything in other languages too. So, but I think for businesses, uh, going through COVID, I think it's a change. And now we're back to COVID in person. I think there's a lot of messaging. There's a lot of things that we need to keep up. I know that we talk about the marketing message or the company message to its clients before the show. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, talking about the messaging part. How do we find the right messaging? And I think a lot of time I talk to people in marketing, they want to target everyone. So, what are your thoughts in messaging and finding the right client that will respond to what we have offered? And obviously, I think my golden question is, how do we find the type of client that will give us the most profit?
So much in there. So I think, to touch on one of the points you mentioned, is, and the minute you say everyone, your ideal client hears no one or not me. Like, we have too many messages. We have to connect in a near instance. Somebody needs to say, oh wait, she's talking to me. Oh wait, that's for me. You want them to have that whoop little perk, right? The perk, though, has to be so um heartfelt, because I think good marketing gives the emotion of what the problem, what the pain, what your solution can bring for them in terms of a promise, before it gives logic. But people lead with logic all day long, and logic sounds like work. And I don't know about you, Sire. Do you need more work? I don't need. I mean, it's one of those things, you can't sell work. It's not, work is not sellable. Experience isn't really sellable anymore, because, to your point, information is so much more accessible. I need to know that you know how to do it. I just need to know you got it right. But I need to really have faith that you're going to give me what I want. And at the end of the day, that's solving whatever the problem is. So I do think that most people are not tapping into the emotion of what they do for their clients, really understanding the reasons that they buy, and then reflecting it back to them. But as we were talking about before we got hit the air, there's an underpinning, right? There's an underpinning of change in our world. We are experiencing change at such a fast rate. COVID did a number. There's like some estimates that 2020 was worth 5 years of change, especially in the digital world and with marketing.
Mhm.
So your message, the lifespan of your message has a shelf life. And we always have to be leaning in and listening to our clients, paying attention to our KPIs to make sure that message is still effective. I will say, like, we personally, I mean, we went through a marketing shift within 18 months after 2020 because our market had shifted. The language that they were using had shifted. So you always have to be iterating and changing and growing and evolving. Gone are the days to where you can like check, done. My marketing message is phenomenal. Check, done. I don't need to look at it for 20 years. It is not going to work. At the same time, our buyers for majority of the businesses, and I will say there's transactional work, like I want a coffee, give me a coffee. You don't have to sell me with this. There's some branding. I like the prestige. Maybe I like the way Starbucks feels, but I'll tell you, I like the way the independents feel. So that's unique enough that I'm paying for the uniqueness because I can get this cup of coffee anywhere. That's transactional. HVAC, a little more transactional. If you're in the South, like I am, your AC goes out on 120 degree weather. You don't care how much you're paying. You're just like, fix it now, right?
Mhm.
But for others of us, we have to almost date our clients, if you will. We have to coax a little bit because it's not as desperate or transactional in that nature. Maybe it's a little more sophisticated purchase. Our buyers are becoming more sophisticated. So I think we went through this age of being extreme pain mongers. You will die if you don't buy my stuff. You will die. To then we started talking about the journey. If you've heard Hero's Journey, story brand marketing. I think we're at this age to where we really need to have respect for our ideal clients, to see them as whole, but help them understand that we really can help whatever they're trying to solve, because everybody is enough. So you have to, I think this is 4 episodes in and of itself. You were saying like the six ways could be 6 episodes. This is a bit of that as well. It's just not as simple anymore. So I do think you hit it spot on. We define the ideal client as the client who will pay, the client who understands there's a problem, and the client we enjoy working with. So if these 3 things are there and the math of the business works, then profitability should be easy. It really shouldn't be difficult. It's just sometimes there's one of those pieces are off, and your marketing supports your pricing, which supports your profitability. It's all interconnected.
Yeah, I always say that in marketing, even for someone who just started the business, they've assumed they have 0 client, right? I
Yeah.
would even tell them, dream of the client that will pay you full price.
Mm-hmm.
You love to work with them and they adore you, and
Yeah.
then they will pay you promptly. Like,
Yeah.
who are these people? Can you write down maybe the demographics, maybe the title that they have? Then actually it will answer a lot of questions in marketing. Where
Yeah.
would they be hanging out? Is it what platform do they use? Do you need to reach them out by good old direct mailing, or do
Yeah.
you reach them on Facebook or TikTok or whatever that it is, or they only appears on trade shows? So
Yeah.
you could actually answer a lot of questions, and to your point, Leslie, save a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
things that they're not going to be there for,
Yeah.
and you don't need to be there. Like you don't need to be everywhere at everywhere, right? So you won't
True.
see McDonald's ad on
Yeah.
places that are a certain neighborhood. You will see them on a certain neighborhood. They won't. So even as big as McDonald's, even for Starbucks, they don't advertise everywhere. So people
Yeah,
know.
it's a really good point to note is you don't have to be everywhere. I mean, we have an omnipresence. That's a strategy, but we also have an amazing system and an amazing team that makes that super easy for us. But you don't have to start out there. Choose one place to be and then do that very well. We have found while we still post on Facebook, Facebook is not where our people engage with us. It's
Mhm.
not that our clients aren't there. It's just that when they're there, their intent is about family and friends, not business. They're trying to unplug from the business. But on LinkedIn, where we have like a newsletter that does really well, we know people are in that mindset. So we do content on LinkedIn a little bit different than we do it on some other platforms. But I think you brought up a good point is people get on these bandwagons, these trends, if you will. Oh, if you're not on X, not really X anymore. If you're not on Y or Z,
Mhm.
then you're not, you're not real. That's not true. You just need to find out what's right for you. And that does take a lot of trial and error. But like you mentioned, I think one thing to really note is when you're first starting out, you have an amazing network of people that already know, like, and trust you. And that typically launches your business. You're able to figure out who that ideal client is. But along the way, you have to keep asking them questions. How was that? What did you find most valuable? What would you tell to somebody else, that might be considering our services? Where could we be better? Like all those questions really matter. In fact, so you mentioned the book at the beginning, First This, Then That. We have a new release that's coming out. When I first wrote that book, I was struggling with the title. So I went back to all of our client testimonials. And one thing that struck out was Leslie would tell me the first thing to do, the next thing to do, and what to never do again. Right. And then I had a client in her testimonial. She said, Leslie will say, first do this, then do that, and then never do this again. And there was that theme that kept just popping up and popping up and popping up. And we're like, what a great name for the book. First this, then that. So I don't feel like I named that. My clients did. I just asked them enough questions that I got the feedback and then I could use it and really start to, like you say, define the demographics. But I also want to point out that what we've come to find is it's not solely demographical. Psychographics really do matter. What is important to people? How do they think? Where are their aspirations? In our world, that is what takes king. Really is what we stay focused on is what do our clients want? What are they after at the end of the day? And they want more freedom, they want more time, and they want to feel compensated for their efforts.
Yeah, there's so many to unpack, the psychological area. Then that's why on LinkedIn I see and on YouTube too, people want to become the expert now. To
Yeah,
be an expert on let's not use X, be expert on Y, right? So because emotionally you might not need to work with the expert today, but whenever that you uh, need the services for that professional,
yeah,
even if that's your friend, you let them, oh, you have to look at that person, right?
yeah,
They're the expert in what they do. You have to check them out. So, and then going back to what we talked in the beginning, you think the expert is going to be cheap? The expert in what they do is always going to be the most expensive. But think about if you are in pain, right? Or if you have kids, you have to hire coaches or maybe experts that you have your kids. Do you go for the cheapest one or do you go for the best one that you could afford? I don't I don't have to give you the answer there.
I know I think you go for the best that you can afford, and I will say occasionally I've reached past that. I've reached up to pay even more than I thought I had to pay because I was super clear on what it was that I wanted to achieve. And I was super confident that I could do it with the strategy or the coach or the subcontractor that we were doing. At the end of the day, and this has always been my philosophy with it, is I'm going to pay people what they're worth because I expect you to show up. I expect you to fill it. I expect you to get the job done. And when there's an issue, because there's always an issue, you're going to fix it. And we're not going to argue about it. Right. I'm going to just say, I'll go, hey, Swire, this didn't work out. Can you fix it? You go, yeah, not a problem. I'm going to take care of it for you. That is worth its weight in gold to me. It's worth paying for. And I think there's two concepts in business is you can save or you can invest. And saving doesn't necessarily grow a business. And saving isn't necessarily profitable. It's a concept that we bring over from our personal finances, but you really have to be asking yourself strong questions of how am I investing? How am I going to be a good steward of the funds that we have so that we can continue to grow? And I think you might find, our listeners might find that opens up different answers than you are previously considering.
Yeah. Leslie, I think it get to the point that there's so many individual questions that
Yeah.
myself and listener can ask you. So if they wanted to reach out to you to talk about specific, what would be the best way to connect?
Yeah. So what we do is, thanks for putting that link up. It's www.yourbizrules.com/SBS for the small business show. We've got a few things out there. One is a free gift, and that free gift is going to be 6 proven ways to find your hidden profits. So if you want to know deeper about that information that we have a great workbook for you to download and really put pen to paper. As always, you can find the book First This and That. Or if you're like, I'm done trying to learn it all myself. I just need somebody that can give me direction and really give me some expertise and insight. Then, of course, we are always willing to help. We have lots of ways that we can do that, and a lot of experience helping business owners just like you really change the business, make a heck of a lot more money, and feel good about it. Know that you're doing really good work.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show, Leslie, and answer all my questions. I really
Happy.
learned a lot from you today.
Oh, thank you, Swire. I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much for allowing me to come aboard.
Take care.